Welcome to our pod. And by that, I mean on Wednesdays we read. I'm Hannah.
I'm Laura.
And we are two best friends who do a deep dive into a new book series, one book at a time. Right now, but only for now. And this month, finishing up, we are shiting on the Wheel of Time. And we are discussing the last book of Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson's Wheel of Time series, A Memory of Light.
So if you want to hear us shiting on the Wheel of Time, you are running out of time because this wheel is not going to keep turning.
And then you'll have to go through our entire back catalog because they're still here, obviously. Yep. But today we're discussing the prologue through chapter 25. But before we get into that, Laura, what are you reading, watching, and or enjoying?
Okay, so I haven't been watching much. I've just kind of had my background show of Unbreakable, Kimmy Schmidt, that I've seen a million times. Nothing else to say on that one. But I read a couple books this week. I'll just talk about one because I'm reading some bigger books and I don't think I'll have them finished.
You're pulling a Hannah.
I don't think I'll have them finished by the time we talk next time. So I'm going to pull a Hannah and only talk about one of them. But I finished Memory of Light. We're going to talk about that, obviously. The one I'm going to talk about is Carry On by Rowell.
That is one I gave you and I was like, here, read this.
I know you like this, and so many people were just like all about this book. I just thought it was okay. I had high hopes for it and it was just okay. I had texted you at one point and I was like, does this get better? Because nothing happens for like the first half of this book. Nothing.
I think it's a difference of like, this is a key element. I think you had to be a fiction fan, or not a fiction fan. You love the podcast, but like fan fiction person to like really enjoy this book.
I didn't even realize that this book is super meta.
Yeah.
Where it's like she had written another book. Mm-hmm. And in that book, the character writes this fan fiction, and what you are reading is this fan fiction, or is about this fan fiction that she's. Or is the story based on the fan fiction she writes?
It's the story based on the fan fiction she writes. Yes.
And so I'm like, okay, so this in itself is very meta. Obviously, you do not have to read that original work to understand this book. But so there were things I liked about this, and there were things I was like, okay, too much. I liked the romance. Simon and Baz were very cute. I liked all of that. I also thought that the magic system where they just like say a phrase and it like a common phrase and then it's a spell is like really clever and also like interesting because, what if you say the wrong thing and something happens, I thought that was really clever. But the thing was with this book, so many times it got too corny for me, especially with the vampire stuff where at one point he says something like, say what I am. And I'm like, no, just don't say it. Don't say it ever.
Laura's like I'm not here for this at all.
It's too Twilighty. I just can't.
That's fair.
And then I hated Agatha as a character. Like, get rid of that character. Why? What is the point? And also just, we need more plot. Like, things didn't really happen until halfway through, and then they were still slow happening. And I needed more to happen. Somebody told me on Instagram that it doesn't really pick up until the third book, and she feels sad because a lot of people quit by then. And I'm like, yeah, I think I'm quitting. But I don't know how you can make it. And the book's so long. It's like, okay, the idea is there, and I think the characters are there, but the author needs to speed it up a little bit because it's too slow.
So I know that Carry On was covered on a podcast I listened to. So I kind of heard about Carry On through that, and I really enjoyed it. And I also think that, like, you know how you read a book at a moment in time and you're like, oh my God, I loved every single second of it. And then like a year later, you look back and you're like, did I? I do think that it falls into that because I know that there's a second book and I honestly haven't felt the urge to pick it up. Like, I think it was like a certain.
There's 3 books. It's trilogy, I guess.
It's a trilogy, but I think like I was reading it at a very specific time during the pandemic and during, it was July 2020.
Yeah.
So I think like it was a very specific, like, oh, I need something fun, something quick. And I think I like gushed over the romance mostly.
Yeah.
But now, like a year or 2 years later, I'm kind of like, oh, I don't need to finish that series. Like, I never need to pick up another one of those. I'm fine with having enjoyed it 2 years ago.
Here's the other thing, and this was pointed out to me by I Love Big Books on Instagram. She said, I think when you read other fantasy while or after you have finished a Wheel of Time book, it is hard to compare. And I completely agree with that, because the fantasy in Wheel of Time is so complex and the magic system is so complex. The characters are very complex that it's hard to match up. And I'm sorry, other fantasy books that I've been reading at this time, but especially YA fantasy, where it's like, this is more of a cutesy, fun type thing. My opinion is skewed because I am like currently in the midst of, like, in the midst of all of this Wheel of Time stuff, where I'm like, my expectations are high. I want lots of action. I want lots of things to be happening, and the things weren't happening. So I think definitely that is a thing where Wheel of Time has skewed some of my ratings for fantasy. But
it probably did make me harder on certain fantasies I was reading. Like if they were great fantasy stories, a lot of times I'm like, I'm so here for this. It's super interesting. But other fantasy stories, I'm like, if it's a lighter fantasy, I think you're right. I think I was much harder on it because we were covering this like big epic tale.
You know, I don't read a lot of fantasy, so this is probably had a very big influence on like some of the ratings I will or have given to other fantasy books. But
fair.
I think that was like a really good point, that it's hard to match up certain books when you're reading another epic fantasy.
Right. Interesting.
But, that's all I have been reading.
Yeah.
I haven't really been watching anything. I need to get on Ozark because they released the latter half of the final season. But I just didn't get to it this weekend. I was trying to finish up my May reading, and I did it the day.
You did it!
I tried and finish up my April reading. I did it May 1st, but I'm still counting it for April because it was only like an hour that I read on the first of that book.
I did that with my March reads where I was like finishing up a book and I was like, nope, it's going on my April list. Like, even though it says I finished it April 1st, who cares? I did it and it's done. And I read like 16 books in April. So I'm like, that one can go in March. So I read a ton. I got very mentally healthy and then also not, but I do wonder if I went back to carry on of like the Wheel of Timeness and the other fantasy I've read, because I don't think I read a ton of fantasy 2 years ago. I don't think I was as much in the oeuvre as we are now. So I bet I would hate it.
I think I'm not a vampire person because I could not get into A Discovery of Witches. I DNF'd that. Do not think I will return to that one. I just like vampire stuff is like, especially the vampire romance stuff. I'm just kind of like, no.
I honestly forgot he was a vampire in that book. Like it never occurred to me to remember that. Well, we've grown in the past 2 years since Hannah read that. And what an interesting thought I'm
glad that it worked for you at the time. Yeah. But at my current time, not working for me.
That's fair.
I posted my like baby review of it on Bookstagram, and I was like, is this where I lose all my followers? Possibly, because I'm like, people love this book.
Right.
They love this series. I'm so worried.
It was so funny because you posted that and I was like, that's not really a hot take. And then I like looked at my Goodreads and I like rated it 5 stars. So I was like, oh, that was a time.
I'm telling you, every time that I see people talk about that book, they love it. So I'm like, funny. But I can understand why people do love it. I think Wheel of Time has ruined me on fantasy, and
I wouldn't say it's ruined you on all fantasy. You have already read 2 of the Poppy Wars and you enjoyed those a lot.
Different types of fantasy, but I would say that maybe that one just doesn't work for me. But Hannah, what have you been reading?
Well, so this week I'm going to discuss my graphic novel moment I had
Yay!
during April. So I read the complete collection of The Watchmen by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons, which many people know was a movie that was panned famously. Like the creator of The Watchmen hated that. But I did watch the HBO series and it was excellently done. All I could say is like, okay, so I get that the movie was not that good. I had my first boyfriend fucking loved the Watchmen movie so much, so I had to watch it at least 2 times with him. But like it, my thing was like I read the graphic novel and I was like, there's not a ton different from the graphic novel that was like the movie covered a lot of ground.
Mm-hmm.
So what about the movie angered so many people?
Like what about it is grating?
Yeah, and I thought the graphic novel was really good. Like it was interesting. It was very like made by white men, you know, but like in 1987. But my dad like read the Watchmen graphic novel, so he and I discussed it. And he was like, "I love the blue guy," and I was like, "Awesome," you know. But and it was like an interesting take on, you know, fascism and all that stuff, and like it told interesting stories about like letting things happen and being all powerful. And like the women in it are just shot on the way 1980s stuff did that. But like it was or maybe it wasn't made. I mean, that was when the large volumes were published. So maybe it's even younger than that. I don't know graphic novels that much anyway, guys. But like it was so enjoyable, but also just kind of like, I'm glad that we don't continue to have stories like this. Right. I'm glad that the HBO show updated a lot of this stuff. And added on to the conversation. And I think that that's something interesting that it got me thinking about. Sorry, I'm so rambly today. It's been a long weekend, guys. But it got me thinking about like how sometimes when people make adaptions, kind of like our discussions on the Wheel of Time, people want it to be like note for note.
Yeah.
And it's so weird because it's like, well, The Watchmen was made during a specific time when people had very specific views.
Right.
And like an updated audience for that should have some added conversation, not just about, you know, Watchmen and that's alone. Because like the HBO update, sorry, the cops are coming to get me. That was an ambulance.
Hopefully not that either.
The HBO show like talks about things like Black Wall Street and like how that was burnt out, and it adds like race to the conversation when The Watchmen was definitely not about that in the time it was written, and that makes it so much fuller and so much more interesting. And
that's the thing, Hannah, you know, white guys don't like that.
I know, it's just so strange. Like I just don't understand, where I'm just like, yeah, this is so good. I know.
I'm not. I'm sorry, white guys that are listening. Like our listeners are great, and I'm not gonna generalize about men. There are men
about men.
There are men who are progressive and allies to all sorts of people, but unfortunately, there are a lot of straight white male tears that were probably shed over this Watchmen moment.
Yeah. And so I just think, I don't know, there's a whole thing of the panic of when you think your representation is going away. I just want to remind people that like inviting people to come to the conversation doesn't minimize what you're bringing to the table. And it just opens the door to other people.
Yeah. I was just going to say it broadens the amount of things that we get to consume, and we have noticed in many different aspects that if you allow different groups in, things get better. So art and media are also some of those things. So
it also doesn't mean that you can't enjoy the thing. Like I read Watchmen, I enjoyed it. I gave it a pretty high rating for like how much I enjoyed it and what I thought it was doing way back when. But like I can look at it and critique it based on when it was created, and then be happy that I'm not getting that same thing over and over again.
Right.
You know, so it's interesting. I do know that like a lot of men simp over the Rorschach character. And like, he's not a good character. Like, I don't understand that, because Rorschach is like a character who believes in like justice above all, but it's almost like the corruption of what that can do to your brain, kind of, because like he loves a guy because the guy like fights against the man and all this stuff, but the guy is also an evil person. So like, it's interesting what people pick up on, and they're like, oh, but he fights against the man, and it's like Rorschach is not a sane person. He needs lots of help. So it's interesting.
Yeah, that is like kind of.
But I also finished up Monstrous.
Yay! This is the one I was hoping you were talking about. Yay!
Laura has already read the first 6 of it, but I had not. And I read 5 and 6 back to back. I love this graphic novel series so much.
Me too.
It's so good. Like, just the development of the characters is super interesting. I love Kippa so much.
That is great.
Kippa's amazing. So cute, so sweet. I just love everyone.
Micah is my favorite, but Kippa is
Micah's
so
such
sweet.
a badass.
Kippa's like the moral compass. And I love that.
And like Kippa, I love Micah so much. Like Micah's so interesting and dynamic, and the way she works with what's the monster's name? Something. I can't think of it. Zen. Yeah. But like, I love their interactions together. It's so interesting. And I was not expecting the end of volume 6 at all. I know. So we have a cliffhanger, and I can't wait for 7 to come out.
Pre-order that, baby.
I actually get them from the library because shockingly enough, like there's usually not a huge long wait list at the library. So
I always have to get those from, if I try to get those from the library, I have to get an interlibrary loan, and it's just easier for me to buy them. I want to reread them anyways. So
I know
I'd rather just own them. I do know that like 4 through 6, and the other ones I had gotten from the library. So
like sometimes like you'll get like a complete collection, so I almost want to wait for the complete collection to ever come out.
Sure.
But I just it's really great. I sometimes get a little bit lost because some of the characters look so similar.
That's a thing I've noticed with graphic novels that I'm very new to graphic novels, but I've noticed that sometimes characters look really similar. And it's hard to remember, like, oh, wait, who is this?
Right.
That's right. It's this person, not that one. Because Micah and her aunt look very similar.
So similar. And they also look similar to some of the big bads. And then I'm wait, is that a big bad? And then I also, like, Hannah famously forgets so many things. But it is teaching me to kind of just go along, because I will forget if the Federation is the good side or the bad side constantly. And I'm like, I don't remember who's fighting with who, but that's half the fun.
Right.
So it's really good, and everyone should pick up Monstrous volumes.
What's
1 through
been
6
your favorite volume so far?
Oh my gosh, they all kind of do bleed together, unfortunately, but I really enjoyed volume 6. And
volume 4 was my favorite. And
I think volume 4 was going to be my next guess on what I liked the best. I do remember loving volume 4 because it kind of opened everything up and made everything more complex.
Right.
And it wasn't as world buildy. Like I felt like the first 3 world built a lot. And the 4th one was like, here's where we're kind of turning on the plot of it, where you're not just learning.
One honestly didn't have too much going on. It was a lot of art in that one. And I noticed there was a lot of action. So it was just like a lot of action art scenes, which is great.
Right. Well, and I think volume 4 really was a lot of buildup of the plot of like what's about to happen. And volume 5 was more like the repercussions of the plot before more plot got taken to you. So it was an interesting vessel for the book. But I can't wait to read more. They're really good. The artwork is fantastic. Yeah. So that was, those are my
amazing
graphic novels of the month. I read 3 back to back. It was very fun. So, but and then for watching, my roommate and I continue to watch Ted Lasso. It's super cute and I love it so much. Roy Kent is the man of my dreams. He is brunette. He is sarcastic and he is a little grumpy. Or he's very
Jason
grumpy.
Sudeikis? Or?
No. Jason Sudeikis is Ted Lasso. Okay. Roy Kent is.
I don't watch this show, obviously.
No, I know. You should. I think you and your husband would love it. So if you could ever like get an Apple TV like subscription for a week for cheap, it's easily very bingeable. My roommate and I we only watch shows 2 episodes at a time, so we're part of the way through season 2. Sure. But no, Roy Kent is like in season 1, he's the captain of the team, and he's kind of like getting up there in age. So like everyone kind of like talks about how he's like the old dog and like these newer guys are coming in, but he's like And the guy who plays Roy Kent is actually a writer for the show. And when it came to like casting Roy Kent, he's like, I actually think I understand this character and I want to play him. Yeah. And so he like is very dry. He's very angry and like he's tell it like it is. And he's just like this curmudgeonly person. But like at one point you find out that like he's like, I do yoga once a week with a bunch of old ladies. None of them know who I am. And we drink rosé afterwards. And it's wonderful. And it does great things for my hips. Okay. And he's so adorable. And like, he like hates everything, but he loves his little niece. And I just want to marry Roy Kent. And the man who plays him, I believe, is single. And I just don't know why he's not dating me. So
go for it, Hannah.
Hannah has a very specific type. It is brunette.
I'm trying to find this person right now so I can see who they are.
His name is Brett Goldstein.
Brett Goldstein? Okay.
Mm-hmm. You can even do Red.
I think I've seen him before.
Oh, I'm sure you have.
Interesting. Okay.
He's very good looking. But I love him so much. He is so funny. In one of the most recent seasons, he's like reading the Da Vinci Code, and my roommate and I were dying because he's like reading it. He's like, oh, no way. And he's like, they make the chapter so short to keep you on your toes. And one of the characters is getting annoyed with him, and he's like, do you want me to read it to you?
Oh my gosh.
It's so funny. I love him so much. Oh God. So yeah, my roommate and I continue to watch it, and I love him so much. And it's such a good show. It's so happy. Everyone's so sweet on it. And like watching them play around as, you know, like you don't expect it to be as witty as it is, but it's so good. And like the way it really like keeps you on your toes, because like you think you're just watching like this very happy show, but then they have like moments of sublime, like, oh, it's interesting to think about character, you know, like one of the characters we love so much, they're making him do like certain mean things in this season that we're both really uncomfortable with. And I kind of like brought up the point where I'm like, okay, but I think that that's important to watch happen, because I think too many times we make like villains villainous, you know, and it's good to remember that even the sweet characters are capable of having anger and mean things, because, you know, it's unexpected, but it happens.
People are people. So you can't expect, I don't know, you can't expect one emotion or personality. Not personality, one emotion constantly from someone.
Exactly. So I think it's interesting that we're enjoying our 2 episodes at a time of that. So I'll hopefully finish it up in the next month or so. But with that said, should we dive in to A Memory of Light?
Hannah, we have both finished this book before we even start talking about it.
We both wanted to finish it in April.
We had to get this done.
The way we were both trucking through this book and then like texting each other about like, I'm so tired of this, but I have to keep listening. It's almost May.
I have to finish this before May.
It's
can't do anymore.
May. Yeah, we are done. So we both know how it ends. Do you, listener? We don't know yet.
This is the point, Dylan from FDF, that you should stop listening.
Turn this down in your headphones.
He told me, turn this down in your headphones. He told me that he listens to our podcast, but he has to like stop so he doesn't get any spoilers. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, because we give tons of spoilers. So I'm bad about like, I'm marking. I said the person who does the show notes, me, is really bad about marking when the spoilers begin all the time. But right now, Dylan, is the time to stop listening.
Yeah. Okay. Dylan is no longer with us. Let's talk bad things about him.
Yes.
No. Okay. So we come in on the prologue, which was so long in this book. Brando Sando, why did you do that to us? You had been doing so wonderfully.
I know.
And then you really let us down, and I'm disappointed in you. But what are you gonna do? So during this, we have like there's bubbles of evil going around. You have Baird, who is making spearheads and watching Lord Jared, and Jared is like, I hate Elaine and the Aes Sedai, and I want her head. And people kind of just are over him and they start quitting. And Jared tries to attack Whitebridge, but the others leave, including like all these lords. And they tie him to a tree to prevent him from following them and telling him they're going to fight with the Andorans in the last battle. So it's kind of like, remember that civil war that broke out? Well, we hadn't really tied up all the loose ends, so we're going to do that real quick.
Yeah.
So we can get ready for the final battle.
Here's the thing about Brandon Sanderson. He does not like to leave anything open-ended.
No.
At all. At all.
Honestly, I forgot Barrett existed. So
same. There's so many things that he like brings back and is like, I have to tie this up. One,
did you?
Way to pay attention to detail. Two, not everything needed to be tied up. You could have talked about other things. You do you. It's fine.
This is supposed to be a full world. Sometimes in the world, things don't get tied up.
Exactly. You don't always know the ending. So.
Or you could just do it with a throwaway line that people can write fan fiction of years later.
Right.
Oh, that band
Let
came
people
here.
Speculate. Like I will continue to speculate if Tom is Elaine's father.
Right, exactly. Even though it's like everyone says that he is not. But then we cut on over to Talmanis and the band. They're going towards Camelin through the refugees until he learns that there are Trollocs trying to seize the last of the gates and prevent anyone else from escaping. He's like, oh my God, we got to go get the dragons. They hatched in last book, Laura.
The dragons. They're eating goats and... just like in Game of Thrones.
Exactly. Those dragons are real. And then we cut on over to Isam, who's waiting in what passes for the inn in the town in the shadow of Shile Ghul, waiting for one of the Forsaken who summoned him there. He noticed that he hates this place. He's kind of just being, and then he gets ready to flee when people start paying attention to him, but Morden appears, sending the semi-Nisei his way. He continues to wait, and one of the Forsaken arrives, a woman, but not one Isam knows. She gives him instructions to kill Rand. While they are talking, a carriage passes containing someone to be turned to the shadow, using the trick of 13 channelers, weaving the flows through the 13 Myrddraal. He sees an urchin and thinks it's better for the child to flee and die in the blight than to grow up in the town. And he says that he'll need some people, and he notes that they have their teeth filled and they've been turned. She tells him he will also have a handful of the talentless to deal with Rand's guards. Talmanis is fighting in Camelin, trying to secure it, and he takes a fatal wound from a Myrddraal, so we think he's gonna die. And in this scene, my favorite thing is he thinks he's dying, and he's like, you know what I should have done? I should have given Matt a harder time. And I'm like, Talmanis and Matt were in a gay relationship together. They were in a relationship together. It's going to be canon in Hannah's head that Talmanis and Matt were in a relationship together. It's a much
preferable situation.
It's such a preferable situation. And they loved each other so much. And it was a pure love where his dying breath was just
thinking about Matt. Yeah.
And I was right. Those two men were in love with each other. I'm so glad I picked up on it, because it's the only romance Hannah ever picked up on in one of these books was Matt and Talmanis. So
I mean, it's really hard to pick on the romance in these books.
I know, but he did such a good job with this one. Why couldn't he do that with all of them?
Because I don't think even he realized it was a romance.
I don't think he did either. I think Hannah just knew. But he recruits a band of mercenaries to help him out. We cut on over
his wound. Just like a quick second. What's that? I can't remember what the movie is that I'm thinking of, where they get like stabbed or bitten by something and they have like the black veins that start to like creep up. What is that?
Oh,
you know what?
I know what you're talking about, but I don't know. If you guys
that's
know,
what it made me think of.
Yeah, I would say
I'm like,
that's a pretty good.
It's like creeping up, and the black.
He veins, continues to try to fight, but like he is slowly dying. I know what you're talking about, but I could not tell you.
It just keeps spreading, and they need to isolate it. That's what I was thinking of. I can't remember the movie or TV show, so let us know.
We cut on over to Agianan, who still only answers to Leolwyn and Doman, who are at the field at Marilor. She's still loyal to the Empire, but feels Damani are a lie. They They meet some people and ask to be taken to Nynaeve or Elaine. He takes them to Nynaeve, who berates her for letting the domination band fall into the hands of Semirog. And at first she tries to lie to her and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Nynaeve was like, the thing I told you to get rid of. And she was like, okay, look, we tried, but we failed. I know. And she was like, I'm giving myself to you as payment. Nynaeve says that they don't keep people as though they are animals and that she'll take her to the Amerlin.
Nice offer. Not happening.
Not going to happen. So she thinks that she is now Dacovel to the Amerlin, whatever they think. Talmanis, they're still fighting in the palace. We cut on over to Laura's favorite character, Avienda.
We're trying to make Avienda a thing.
And she's like, wise ones. In the last book, this happened to me. And they're all like, oh my goodness, we should send other people through a second time to see if they can verify it. And they're like, we're going to try to change whatever happens, even if the future is fixed, because that's all you can do. And it's like, yep, that sounds like life. They discuss Randag's plans, noting that he's going to demand something from the nations of the Westlands in payment for fighting the last battle. The wise ones take insult in the fact that he doesn't really ask them to do anything. Right. And Avienda realizes that they're hypocrites because they would be mad at him either way, which welcome to politics. She tells them that Rand will be hers and that she means to see him tonight. And she ends the meeting. Before she goes, Bear asks her to weave a gateway to Ruidian as they need someone strong to go through the gas columns to see the future. We cut back on.
And then she has to change the names of her kids, right?
Yeah, they said a good way to change the future is to change the names of your children and never mention what they were going to be named. Don't mention it.
I'm pretty sure it was Rand, Perrin, and Matt Jr., but
a little Elaine Jr. Elaine Jr.
It was Rand, Perrin, Matt, and Elaine. We're going to
call her Elaine. Okay, we cut on back to Talmanis, who continues to fight towards the palace, but the band are outnumbered. As he prepares in order to retreat, they're saved by the Andorrans. One of the men tells him that there are two kinswomen there, but they cannot form a gateway as they lack the strength. Instead, they are healing, which gives Talmanis hope that he might be able to heal his wound. The Trollocs are mounting a fresh attack at the gate, and the band holds. Talmanis asks Gaibon, he's been talking to give support. And he's like, he needs to stay at the palace in case Elaine sends anyone. Talmanis is able to persuade him that it's more important to keep the gate open. He tells him he's going after the dragons, and he's like, I'm coming with. We cut on over to Andral and Pavara. Andral is one of the Ashaman. Pavara is one of the Red Aes Sedai women who is there. She's trying to find out more about him, but he's reluctant to give her anything. In the last book, they agreed to work together as well. Right. Just a reminder for everyone and for myself. Just
a reminder for everyone and mostly me. And mostly me. I know you were thinking of that. And I'll stay out of your way.
My best friend. Yeah.
Orlando.
I love you, Orlando. My sister and I saw that together, and then
Book of Mormon.
we went to Book of Mormon together, and then we went to Orlando, and she kept going, Orlando.
I get
it. Creepy.
Every now and then I just think of that song, but mostly me, because it's so hilarious to me, and I like to listen to it, and especially Josh Gad's parts where he comes in with the counter melody, and he'll be like, and I'll stay out of your way.
I prefer Light Switch because that one makes
that's a good one.
So hard.
Switch it up.
Turn off like a light switch. Just go click. It's a sweet little Mormon trick. Yeah.
Great musical.
No, I'm not gay. It
works. Amazing.
Speaking of Mormons, let's get back to Sanderson's work.
Correct. He is Mormon, isn't he?
He is Mormon. It all interconnects.
Oh my gosh. Canon.
Book
of Mormon It's about Brandon Sanderson.
The Book of
Just kidding.
Mormon. You're making stuff up again, Arnold. Okay. So anyway, they decide that they're going to try a circle, but like, this book is sexist, so only men can control a circle with women. And then some of the other men kind of come in, and they tell him that they might be able to get past the walls if they are strong enough. Storm and the right men are guarding. Pavara says once they're out, they could join with the rebel Aes Sedai and storm the Black Tower, but Andral explains that it has several hundred men trained to be weapons, so an assault would be unwise. He tells them they cannot subject themselves to the authority of the Aes Sedai, and if they run to the dragon, they will be nothing once he is gone, so they need to solve the problem in the future. They can't just rely on Rand to fix everything. Weird synopsis for the end of the book, because we've been relying on Rand to fix everything.
He doesn't fix everything? Say right? What?
I know, this is so confusing. Amarin reminds them that there can be no reconciliation with Taim, as he has been turning men to the shadow. They accept this, but they're unsure of what to do as they are weak and outnumbered. Andral tells them of the Nox Rebellion, where a group of simple country folk overthrew their lord, and inadvertently letting slip that he fought in that war. Then one of the men brings this up. Andral tells him he knows that he is really Algarin Pendalone, and that they both have secrets. Algarin
don't reveal that I'm actually super cool.
I know. Yeah. Like, I am a great leader, and I
don't
really
tell anyone.
Don't tell people about it. I don't want to talk about it.
I'm awesome. I just want to continuously bring up things that you guys should do, but not be the one that makes sure that you follow through.
Pavara is like, "Are you sure you're not really powerful? Because you seem really powerful." And he's like, "I'm not that powerful.
Not as powerful as that guy, but yes, I am."
Yeah. Algarin tells him they are his men, but Andral says no, they are the Black Towers, and that he is only in charge of until Logain returns. He asks Algarin for an hour to decide what to do. We cut back to Talmanis, who is trying to be healed, but it's beyond the wise one's ability. She tells him there are Black Aja sisters with them, and she can feel them channeling. There's a section of the city not burning, the location of the Waygate. This happens to be close to the quarter where dragons are located, so Talmanis decides to head in that direction. As they get close, they begin to hear explosions. Talmanis faces another Myrdral, and not having to worry about taking a wound, he's able to kill it. At the end of the street, they see Eludra behind a barricade with the dragons. He is told they're
refugees.
Yeah. But they have to head east towards the gate and the dragons. Also, like, I will say, Talmanis definitely has like the Deus Machina of death, where it's like, you're going to be stabbed, but you're going to die slowly. Yeah. So anyway, we cut back to Mogadine. She is in a dream shard with Moradin, waiting for the remaining Forsaken to arrive. She has been given her Kosuvra, so Moradin no longer controls her utterly, but she has not been forgiven. She knows that Moradin still wears Sindane, whom she has worked out is indeed Lanfear. Yeah, who's been killed by Moradin so that he can rescue her from Sinjal. We said that
this was Lanfear a while ago, didn't we?
Yeah. And we found that out in the last book, because remember, Ram like comes upon her and he's like, "What up, Lanfear?" Anyway, they're preparing to put her into a new body. Demandred arrives, followed shortly by an unattractive woman who Moradin is like, "This is Hasalam, without forgiveness in the old tongue." And they've met her before. Mogadine or Mogideon, whatever we want to call her.
However they decide to say it this time.
This time around. Realizes that it's Grendel in a new body. They switched around Mogideon's name or Mogadine's name so many times. I forgot who she was in this book. Like at the end, I was like, why is she important? I'm like, oh my God, she's like the one Forsaken we spent the most time with. I was going to say, she's
been here the most.
And I forgot who she was because they changed her name too often. Oh God, sorry.
They did this with a couple other characters, but this was the one where it was like, the name change was drastic enough that you're like, this is a new character.
Right. Like, yeah. She realizes that it's Grendel. And they chose this body because she's ugly.
Like, here's your punishment, you're ugly.
But also, isn't Grendel the one who like is able to affect people's minds mostly? So I'm like, she could just convince anyone that she's pretty. She doesn't. Why does it matter? This is a dumb thing to do as a punishment. You guys are stupid.
they're bad at punishments. They're bad
They're
at what
so
they do.
well because they're like, how's she gonna get people to follow after her now? And I'm like, with
Ugly people
mind
have
control.
no influence. False. Like, they have tons of influence.
Literally, she mind controls people. How is it a thing that like this is gonna be like she can't mind control people if she's ugly? Because guess what? Pretty people still won't like her, even though she can affect their minds. But anyway,
it's fine, Grandel.
Demandred is like, you guys will see the fruits of my labor soon. Bum, bum, bum. And I will kill Rand and no one else, which definitely comes back at the end of this book. They don't deny him, but Mogadine realizes Mahale wants Rand almost as much as Demandred does. Oh, because they also discuss Mahale, because they bring him Mazrim Taim, and they're like, he is now a Forsaken. And they're like, what? He's so new. How did he earn this right? And they're like, well, he's got all the Ashaman.
He's put in the work, people.
You guys are lazy. You let that Forsaken name let you not work at all.
This is a pyramid scheme, and he's recruited so many members. So he's being elevated to diamond level. And
Mazrim Taim, Mahale, and diamond level.
He's a diamond level coach. And
he really is, okay? He is getting out those pinwheels with the cream cheese in the middle, and he is selling that Pampered Chef, okay?
Oh my gosh.
I own so many Pampered Chef things because my mom was definitely a purchaser. Okay, so we got back on over to Dalmatis, who's lying on the floor, listening to two men argue, always. They're cornered. They can't reach the wall as there are Trollocs throwing a spear at anyone who comes too close. Aludra tells them she can set charges to destroy the dragons. And Gaibon says she should do it to make sure they don't fall into the Shadow's hands. Dalmatis realizes that they can aim the dragons at the wall, and he gets one squad to turn and break down the wall while the others defend against the rush of Trollocs. He sees the wall break and collapse. That ends the longest
they can get out
prologue. I always love these updates because it says Rand and Perrin talk.
The summary.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so funny. Okay, but anyway, we cut out to Rand and Perrin, and where Brandon Sanderson is like, have I not had these people talk enough? Maybe they should have a conversation before the end of the book, but only one. They talk about the Trolloc attack at the Two Rivers. But he wants people to remember what happened as well, because he knows that like it's important to remember all this leading up to it. They walk past a smithy that is mostly making power wrought spearheads, like what we learned people can do in the last book. Rand tells him about Lutheran's memories and how they're a little like a dream that seems realistic. You could explain that as anything, Laura. Do you know that my memories feel like a dream, but they're more realistic?
They feel like a dream, but they're more realistic.
That's anything you're thinking about. Laura, did you know that the real world kind of sometimes feels like a dream, but it's more realistic? Dumb statement. Oh god.
Leave it to Rand.
I know. And everyone's like, he's the smartest man alive. Not one woman could serve him. He needs 3.
He can't.
Oh god, never trust a ginger man. Rand wonders if the solution to sealing the dark one might not be to seal him, but to do something more permanent. They go to the clerk's tent where Balwer tells him that Roydrun has agreed to come, but isn't happy about needing the help of the kin to be there. He offers Rand the chance to see the letters exchanged between Egwene and each of the rulers. He tells them that Elaine has been wakened by her advisors and she's up to something, because pregnant women be sleeping. Rand thinks it must be important given that she's pregnant.
He's like, I am worried because I have children.
I know. And it's just like, did you know that I had children? I didn't. I didn't feel the pregnancy through the bond. No morning sickness for me.
Why is it that I don't know. She can feel it, but he can't. I don't get it.
Her pregnancy doesn't affect his powers.
Annoying.
The bond is convenient.
It's a feminist text.
Yeah, sure. Egwene is writing a letter to Rand to clarify her thoughts. A messenger from Elaine's tent arrives, and Egwene opens a gateway there so that no one will know she visited. Elaine is concerned that there are no reports from Camelin, and she sent someone out to check on the events. Egwene shows Elaine the letter from Rand, and they're like, oh, it's so forceful. And it's like, aren't you all forceful at this point? You're all
everyone is so demanding.
Oh my God. Egwene says that Rand doesn't seem to respond to anything but force. Oh, so Egwene wrote a forceful letter, but they're all forceful. It doesn't matter. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine tells her, I know. And then Elaine's like, maybe you should let Rand do what he wants. And it's like, ugh, God, I hate everything.
You gotta know something that we don't.
I know. And she's like, well, there's a long war ahead.
I trust him.
And freeing the Dark One would strengthen the Shadow too much, so he can't do it. She says that Rand has been right on some things, but not all things. And they can't allow him to make the decision on his own. Except Egwene is the most rational out of all these people. Yeah. So seeing her be irrational makes me a little bit upset. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to be stubborn about the one thing that Brandon Sanderson decided I'm stubborn about. And then she says, I'm the watcher of the seals, so it's my duty to discuss this. Mm-hmm. They're interrupted by a messenger from Gaibon who tells them that Camelin is under attack. They go to the traveling ground to see many gateways opening and floods of refugees coming in. Egwene sees Gaibon barely able to stand, talking with Elaine. She's like, you've done well and you'll be rewarded. But he says the band deserves the reward. And he wants them to see what they can do for Telmanis. They go and run and grab Nynaeve, who heals him.
We need you, expert healer.
The one good thing we're going to let you do for this book. The one good thing. And then you just get to do one thing
and then you're done.
And then you're done. Nynaeve, you will no longer be in this book. Leave.
Thanks for your help this series.
Yeah, God. Then they go to see Romanda, who is taking charge of organizing the healing. We cut back to Rand, who tells Perrin that his loose Theron memories are his madness, but without them, he would make the same mistakes. So again, you're just talking about learning from your past mistakes. That's not, yeah, you're right. If you didn't have those memories, you would maybe make those mistakes again.
And here's the thing, Perrin's like, maybe you should explain that to some other people.
Laura, did you know that my past mistakes have led me to a better life?
Maybe you should explain it to some other people. I just can't with Perrin anymore. This used to be my favorite character. If we go back a year ago, this was my favorite character. And now in the last book, I'm like, stupid thing to say, Perrin.
Perrin, you're my best friend.
You're my best friend, Rand. Maybe you should explain it.
Sorry, this is so funny to me.
There's a lot of corny things that happen in this first half of the book.
So funny.
We'll get there. There's another moment coming up that I just died. So we have to get there.
Well, yeah, I know we have to get this done. They talk about whether we could be persuaded, and Perrin's like, I support you, Rand, but we won't fight against her. Rand says it won't come to that. They talk through the Two Rivers camp, which seems brighter than the other camps. A message arrives to tell them that Camelin has fallen. Rand tells Perrin that he needs Elaine to stay put and she can't be allowed to go to Camelin.
He's like, this has Demandred written all over it.
If she goes, she'll die with our babies. With the babes.
Stop calling them babes. I know she doesn't, but it bothers me.
I hate that Elaine calls them her babes. And
I'm
she
bothered.
does it so much.
I know.
Like, my babes.
I'm bothered.
The babes. I hated that so much.
It's not. No.
So they're all worried about Elaine's babes. They reason that the Trollocs had come through the gateway that Rand thought he had made safe. At first, Rand is inclined to leave Camelin apart from saving the refugees, but Perrin makes him realize that they can't allow the Trollocs out of the city. Rand thinks how it's probably Demandred's work, and that if Lews Theron had not been so arrogant, he might have turned to the shadow. But Rand learned from his past mistakes, so he didn't.
I will not turn to the shadow because I have learned. I've grown.
He sends Perrin to Fael and promises he will investigate to see how bad things are in Andor. We are only on chapter 2.
It's a long book.
It's so long. Pavara watches Andor make a saddle. She's like, that's a pretty good saddle you're making.
Was he making a saddle or just cleaning one?
It says she watches him make a saddle. I'm pretty sure he was making
a
saddle.
Just cleaning it.
Maybe he was just cleaning
it on his horse. You know what I mean?
But she does in fact compliment him on how he either cleans or creates that saddle. So that's a nice boulder. I like that saddle. She offers herself as bait for Taim, but Andor refuses because he thinks it's not her fight. They argue about the purpose of the Red Aja now that Saidin is clean. And she's like, isn't it more important that the Red Aja exist? Because you want me to be looking out for men who abuse their power? Isn't that the whole purpose of the Red Aja? And it's like, no, it wasn't.
Like,
you're just trying to convince us it was so that we can like Pavara in this book. That's all you're doing.
Quit trying to make yourself a thing, Pavara.
But Andra wants to show her that the source is really clean because she doubts him. She offers to show him how to link.
You know what? I was wondering about this. How did they even learn that like the true like the power was cleansed?
They felt it when Rand
they could all feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I was like, if this is just like a word of mouth thing, I'm like, I don't know.
But like it's also confusing because in this book, like Androl is also still affected by the insanity that like anytime he channels, he still sees, which like I thought it was going to turn out to be actual dark shadows coming after him. But out of the many plots that Brandon Sanderson tied up, that wasn't one of them.
Right.
So I was like waiting for that and it just never showed up. It's just like insanity still infects them, but they definitely felt that it was clean. It's confusing. It's not 1,000%. But Andrel seizes the source through Pavara and she panics, which this section bothered me because the way it's described sounded like it was rape. And like it was supposed to be like there was so much language in it that made it feel like a power dynamic where women were this woman was being
scared and he has to like control her and stuff like
It was a weird power dynamic section. I didn't like it. And I'm like, if she came into this willingly, and it sounds like they're having sex, honestly, from the description of it, like it's heavily sexualized almost. And I didn't like how it was like, he's overpowering her, he's controlling her. And I'm like, that's not how that should be talked about. That seems dangerous.
Definitely like the emotions too of the being scared and being mad and them being shocked when this happens. Like,
yeah, it was. I didn't like this section. And she begs him to release her. He does not. He draws in more power. But when he does release her, she bonds him before she knows what she's doing, which is also, again, we have been told this is like raping someone. And so then he bonds her in return. So this is an awesome section. And then they can read each other's minds.
I was going to say, then they have like a telepathic link, which did we know that could happen?
Nope. Didn't happen with anyone else before, but definitely happens when you guys bond each other. Yay! Last book. Evan then enters and tells them Waylon and his Aes Sedai have returned, but Waylon doesn't seem to be the same anymore. So he has been turned to the dark.
So many.
Aviendha sneaks into Elaine's tent and they sit down without anyone noticing. They want Elaine to reclaim Caemlyn, but she intends to wait until the Trollocs leave the city. When Elaine addresses Aviendha, the others with her are surprised, but then leave the two alone. Oh yeah, because she's like talking to a crowd of people and they're like, oh my God, how did she get in here? We're going to have to talk to the guards. And Elaine is like, no, my sister is very smart and she is able to sneak. Like she is very sneaky.
Elaine surrounds herself like with the worst guards ever.
Oh my God, yeah. When Aviendha asks whether Caemlyn has fallen, Elaine replies that there are dark friends in the guard who were supposed to keep the Waygate safe. When they talk about Elaine's plan for the next day, a guard woman enters and delivers a letter from Rand. He urges her to return to Caemlyn, but she knows he's actually wants her at the meeting the next day. It's reverse psychology.
It's reverse psychology.
That's what it is.
He's like, I say it out loud.
He really wants me to be not going to Cleveland. So he told me
opposite
to go
day.
to Cleveland. Opposite.
I've just read the letter and I've determined, Avienda, that it is opposite day.
And then Avienda's like, hey, can I bone Rand tonight? And she's like, well,
I must have him.
it was you who had sex with him the first time. So it is your turn
It is your
now.
turn.
God. Poor Avienda and Elaine, because they do not get many of the benefit. It's like Min was like, I got to travel with him. We definitely had a sexual relationship, quite a bit, and then you two get him right before the end. So have fun.
But then poor Min, because she
had to be around Rand.
Had to be around Rand and has nothing interesting happen.
Yeah, I mean she's a secretary.
She's read a lot.
Yeah.
Of history, we find out, but
yeah.
Is that put to use? No.
Andrel, is she there?
Fine.
Yeah. Andrel and Pavara visit the Great Gathering where Waylon is talking to the men with a bunch of people who haven't really sided with Taim or Logain. He tells them that he met with Rand and the last battle is coming, so there will be many new Ashaman and dedicated Rays. He also claims that Logain and Taim have reached an agreement and that with the last battle so close, there is no time for infighting. Jonathan doesn't believe him and starts to question, much to the dismay of Pavara and Andrel. And Lynn tells him that she doesn't trust Waylon and she's considering having her husband Frask follow him. And they're like the owners of the inn. And It's like, it's so nice that they are here. Da, 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 da. I'm going to give you their entire backstory in this 1,000-page novel. But
like,
Andrel,
don't get involved. It's too complex at this point.
I know. And Andrel is like, it's a bad idea. Just stick to what you're doing and hide in the cellar tonight. Two men come in, having overheard, but Andrel puts them off. He tells them he is going out as he has work to do, but they aren't keen on him leaving until someone else appears. And he shoves Andrel as he walks past. And Andrel seizes Sidene being confronted with lengthening shadows as part of his madness. The guy tells him he has been demoted to soldier, and he rips off his arms. And they say that Rand approves, and he's like, I can't believe Rand approved that. And it's like, he definitely didn't approve that, Andrel. And then he's like, I know I shouldn't be affected because these men are evil, but it affects me. And it's like, well, I mean, you're allowed your emotions, but calm down a little bit. And then he's like, we're going to go rescue Logain. Then we got over to Rand, and he's like, I've changed so much. And then Avienda is like, let's have sex.
He's like, I wonder if I could learn how to heal people. Like, no.
And why do you care? Oh gosh, I guess
that's Nynaeve's hobby, not yours.
He has to learn for the end of the book, Laura, or else it doesn't make sense. Okay. Pavara tells Andrel she suspects Taim has a terra angrial that prevents gateways. As they walk, she realizes she can sense a little of what he is thinking, but that he is much better at sensing what she is thinking. Because again, feminism. Someone was lured by Evan and is shielded by Pavara. Leames and Waylon come in and they try to shield Pavara, who is able to slice Leame's weave and is shocked from the recoil. She also shields him. Waylon runs, but she trips him, and Andrel knocks him out.
Tripping is involved so much.
I mean,
there's a lot of characters that trip, and it makes me laugh.
I mean, there's a lot of characters that do a lot of things, Laura.
I know, but in like big action packed things, you recall lots of like, oh, whoops.
You mean like when the stupid
the banana peel worked.
The golem was running around kicking off lanterns like it was singing in the rain. Singing in the rain. So then they're like, okay, we're gonna figure out where Logain is, and we're gonna have a heist in chapter 4 of this novel in a book that didn't really touch on the Ashamen, but now there's gonna be a lot of them because loose ends need to be tied.
Right. Pavara is a thing.
I know. And so Pavara is like, by the way, all of my family were murdered by dark friends.
I forgot about this.
You forgot about that?
And then he replies, That's right. My father, I also have trauma because my father committed suicide because of the taint driving him mad.
Oh my
I'm like,
God.
wow, there's a lot going on with this here.
We also knew about Pavara's thing, so it was just really interesting that it came up again.
I know.
This has been discussed, and it's just like really, really fast. Where they're like, "Well, we can read each other's minds, so it's important we tell each other everything that's ever happened to us, so that we." Oh God. Okay. They arrive and they interrogate one of the guys pretending to be a high lord of Tyr, wanting to set up a rival tower with male and female channelers working together. He tells them where Logain is being held in hidden rooms in the foundation of the Black Tower building and says that it'll probably take 1 or 2 days to turn him. Pavara binds Dobzer in air and blocks his ears after he tells them where the hidden rooms are. Andrel says they'll lose Dobzer, Waylon, and Leames with something that will make them sleep until bell time and then rescue Logain that night after Time inspects him. Rand finds himself asleep and in a dream shard. Despite the wards he set, he sees Moradin and they talk about Lanfear. And he's like, don't you care about her anymore, Luz Theron? And he's like, not really.
Good.
And the past when Ishamael was hunting Rand's dreams. Rand realizes Moradin hates himself and serves the Dark One because this is the only way everything will ever end for him. So Moradin's biggest wish is to die.
Moradin's like, I need to get out of this job.
It's killing me on the inside, literally. I just keep being reborn.
Don't ever take a job for the perks. Make sure you love it.
You could live forever and you don't want to do that. It's a trap. Can't you balefire yourself? I don't know.
These are questions we need answered.
But like balefire rips you out of the fabric of the wheel. So couldn't you just balefire yourself? Like, how is the Dark One getting? Because like, if balefire is the way to kill them and make it so they can't return. It seems like a balefire of convenience. Like you can only use balefire sometimes, and it only works to kill people fully sometimes because Ishamael was balefired, but then he was able to return, even though balefire is supposed to be the only way you can actually kill the Forsaken
and not be brought back in another body.
Someone add us and tell us what's going on.
Brandon,
okay. Brandon, we have some questions.
Could you email us, please?
At ourpod@gmail.com.
Thanks. We like your musical.
More we got back over to Pavara, Andral, Amaran, Jonathan, and Nullum as they prepare to rescue Logain. I don't know why I just read all their names. I usually don't, but today I did. They leave one of them behind because he has a family, while the Two Rivers boys join up and they're like, we're gonna rescue Logain. 3 men are killed guarding the Black Tower building's foundation. Pavara is surprised they would lead with a lethal attack because that is something Aes Sedai would not do. And they're like, yeah, we don't make an oath to not kill people because you don't know when it would be useful to do that. It's the end of the world as we know it. And I feel fine with killing some people over it. They find one of the people guarding a door to an earthen room. They kill him with an arrow from the Two Rivers bow. And I love this part because they're like, haha, you made fun of me for wanting to take my bow, but it was useful. Awesome. I also love how much Two Rivers men just love their bows and arrows. Like it's such a comment piece in every one of these chapters is like the Two Rivers. They love their bows. Awesome. They find Logain and take him out of his cell, but he's either drugged or too weak to channel. Andral confirms Logain has not been turned, but then Time's men immediately burst in the room and the two sides fight with the power. Andral tries to make a gateway, but the dirt roof of the room collapses. Yeah. Rand wakes up and he's like with Avienda and he talks to her about the Age of Legends and their ways, demonstrating how they use channelings for like taking a shower way back when. So it's like, it was just used so often. People got so lazy and, you know, we should learn from our mistakes.
So if you're getting on board with the whole, like, we are the past and Rand is the future, when I turn on my faucet, is that...
Are you channeling? Yes.
Okay. All right.
Next question.
Sure.
No. And then she's like, I require a boon that may force you to change your plans in a drastic way. So then we cut on over to Egwene, who dreams of a frozen pillar of glass. She also dreams up a sphere, the world, cracking, and how she was tying it with cords, trying to hold it together, which costs lots of effort. She wakes up in the White Tower and she talks with Gawain, who she finds reading a report about Camelin. Together, they go through a gateway to Egwene's tent in the field of Merilor. And she has to sleep somewhere different all the time because people want to murder her. They go out and head to the meeting place together with Sylviana and a number of sitters. Egwene speaks with Elaine and some of the other rulers. Rand finally arrives with grass greening under his feet. And he proclaims that every ruler can take 5 people with him as they talk, and they all decide what to do. And then Rand creates the UN.
Basically.
He's like, hey, we're not going to fight anymore over boundaries. We're not going to have civil wars to make new rulers. It's all going to just be what you agree in your nation. And if there is a skirmish, we all agree to fight for the one person who's in the right. And then all of a sudden the Aiel are like, well, we need to do something, Rand, and we can't be useless. And Rand's like, yeah, I know. I talked to Perrin about this, and the Aiel are going to be the enforcers of this. So they're going to be the police, and they're going to make sure that people are not, trying to infringe on everyone's rights. Yeah, cool. And then he's like, and when we go into the final battle, I need to break the seals. And everyone's like, what do we do if we don't sign this?
Like,
and we don't agree to? Yeah. And it's like, what do we do if we don't sign this and we don't agree to this? And Rand is like, I can force you. And everyone is like getting scared. And all of a sudden, Moiraine is there to make Rand remember that he is a human, because that was her job, apparently. And Perrin watches everyone's reaction to Moiraine's presence. She speaks briefly with Rand, and Egwene is hugged by Nynaeve. Moiraine quotes the prophecy and tells everyone they need to do what Rand wants because only he could fight this battle. And they're like, there's going to be no peace unless the Senshin sign this document. And Rand is like, hey, look, I'll get them to sign it. Don't worry. The Aiel are going to be the drag. Like, it's going to be good. We're going to keep the dragon's peace. And so then they all agree to sign it. Moiraine addresses Egwene and insists that the Amarlin should be the one to break the seals, because Egwene is like, I'm not going to break the seals. I'm going to stop him. And Moraine's like, don't worry. He's not going to break the seals. You are. Dun, dun, dun. And the prophecy actually requires it, to which Egwene reluctantly agrees she has a right. Rand gives the seals to Egwene. The rulers sign the document, and Rand decides to appoint Elaine to lead the last battle.
Just no. Why?
Because Elaine apparently is really good at battles, even though we've never seen her in one, and she's never talked about it.
Just no. No.
And Rand says he has some tasks to do before heading for Shao Ghul, and he requests the help of a friend first. Land and his companions are desperately fighting the Shadow Spawn. They're like, we are going to die here. This is not going to end well. We're going to be overrun. And they all prepare to die. Land shouts he shouts something for Malkier, and then he hears thousands of roaring hoofbeats, which make him turn around and see a gateway through which charging men were passing, riding under the flag of Arafel. More gateways open, and the other Borderlanders appear together with the Ashmen, and Lan laughs.
Not today.
And then Elaine just does battle things, and they appoint 4 great captains to run things. And like,
here's the thing, she's not immediately successful at it. So I was like, all right, I'm slightly on board, because it's not like she's appointed to lead these battles and then it's like, wow, she's great at it.
Right.
So I did appreciate that it was like,
she does have to she looks at maps, she talks to the great leaders to she's kind of not exactly supposed to lead the war. She's more supposed to be like the mediator that we were promised she was way back when.
Yeah. That's probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, where she's listening to all the different great captains, and she's telling them how to work together, pretty much.
Right.
And she
were
notices,
you confused by the fact that there's now a place called Candor involved along with Andor?
Oh my God, I didn't notice.
So I was getting so upset because I was like, why do these have to have the same names? Pretty much like Candor, Andor. Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, so like Bashir is going to be leading, Bryn's going to be leading, but he's not going to be leading with Elaine. And at first she thought it was because he has like upsetting stuff against her mom,
Sure.
but later he's like, no, I just don't think we should be doing this together. I think like it's better for us to not have that.
I was worried it was a conflict of interest.
And then, you know, the Ogiers show up ready to fight it out because they argued, and Loyal was able to argue in front of the steading, and he won. And then Perrin is supposed to be coordinating food supplies pretty much, but he refuses, saying that Rand actually needs him. And Fael's like, I'll take that responsibility. And Elaine finally agrees and tells Perrin they need to take care of Mat getting the Horn of Valir in time. Perrin again suggests Fael, who the Shadow would not suspect of having it. She's like, fine, you're right. Lan is informed about the battle that it will fly under Melchior. He like tries to cheer up the soldiers and tries to be a better, you know, leader instead of the guy who's like, I want to die by myself.
All the people to choose to cheer people up, I wouldn't have chosen him.
You don't think it would be Lan?
I'm surprised by that choice, but
walks up to people, you should smile more, and just walks away.
Put a smile on that face. Turn that
Elaine prepares for battle with the Trollocs who are settled in Camelin, and she's like, someone it's Bashir who's like, you should tell everyone that your children are rams. It'll make them fight better.
If they know there are babes involved, they'll be more ferocious.
Babes involved. And she's like, okay, tell them that Rand and I had sex and now we're gonna have some babes. We cut back over to Andral.
Do it for the babies.
They're being tied up and they're being turned one by one to the dark side. And they really shit all over Andral in all these chapters. Like,
kind of, yeah.
Taib and his men are like, oh, that's the useless one. Don't give a crap about that guy. Oh, he's so useless. And I'm like, you guys are really piling on this one man. What about him makes you so annoyed? And so, yeah. Andral thinks that one of them was lucky to have died in the cave-in because they will not have to, you know, desert everything. The army at Tarwin's Gap with Lan continue to fight, even though they may have to retreat at some point because every Shadow Spawn killed is one who cannot enter the final battle. And Lan is like, laugh instead of crying. Everyone, enjoy your time here.
Well, and then because they're like, we're refusing to mourn, and so we're gonna just start laughing over the dead. Like, okay.
I know. And so they also see tiny rents appearing in the cracks that are way too dark to be normal. But they suddenly disappear, and Lana's worried and heads back to the Saldean camp. There he talks with Lord Algomar about how tired the men are. But he won't leave Melchior to the Shadow a second time. Agomar calls him selfish and tells him it's irresponsible to throw his life away with the last battle upon them. An emergency signal draws Lan's attention, and he storms out to help the defensive lines. He realizes that he eventually will have to abandon Melchior again. Egwene's army is moving to Candor, not Andor. Apparently Gawain is her husband because like they brought in her family because she was like, I'm not going to marry you unless I have my parents here. And it's like, well, did you see your parents? Did we not get to see Egwene reunited with her parents? That sucks.
And we got no wedding.
Yeah, like it just, the best parts of this book happen off screen.
Which, granted, I
don't want to see Egwene marry Gawain, but I want to see Egwene reunited with her parents.
Yeah.
They discuss having a hospital. The Amelin agrees and eventually suggests that they settle in Mayene to take the wounded, and then be transferred to be healed by Yellow Sisters. And novices and accepted can help give them power. And then Egwene goes and she meets Ekianen, who is like, my name is Lywin. And Egwene is like, it's really confusing that you guys change your names. And it's like, it's really confusing that these letters, like names are barely different in this book. So welcome to our club. And And she's like, hey,
for expressing my thoughts.
I know. And then she tells Ekianen that she'll just serve her and protect Egwene as like a repayment for her debt and not getting rid of the bracelets. Rand arrives at Elaine's tent and he's like, our babes. And they have dinner together. He tells her what happened atop Dragon Mount and how he like was healed and like brings in Lews Therin and learns from Lews Therin's mistakes.
We work together now.
And she's like, don't push people away, Rand. Let them fight for what is important. Rand explains to her how the pattern works to try to balance good and evil and give her a small statue of a woman, a seed that is used to create Angreals. Elaine gives him the dagger to Angreal that prevents the shadow to see the holder. Here are Angreal gifts to each other because we love one another. Rand at this time is also giving gifts to everyone as he prepares to die, just so you know. Mm-hmm. Perrin tries to make Trollocs follow him and his forces, which he eventually achieves. And they're going to continue to attack them. Elaine waits impatiently until Perrin's soldiers finally appear, followed by the Shadow Spawn. Everything is ready, and a large number of Trollocs are destroyed by arrows, explosives, and the dragons. We cut back over to Andral, who wakes up. He's tied and he's unable to channel because he's been dosed with fork root. The Dreadlords have been working on Amarin, and though he hasn't been turned, he seems closer to breaking. Taim's 13 Dreadlords are exhausted. Pavara has also been dosed with fork root and is asleep. Taim is angry when he found out his men gave it to her because he wanted to turn Pavara next, and a person who can't channel, even temporarily, can't be turned. Yeah. Taim is like fondling a seal to the Dark One's prison. And he tells Mishrael that it's time to come with him. Taim tells the 13 Ashmen that he wants Tovene turned by the time he returns. Land rides towards the gap. People are fighting. There's so much fighting in this book, guys.
There's a lot.
Elaine remembers a tale about Brigitte's leading a band of thieves in the same force in Bramwood. Even though she confirms it, Brigitte's also like, I don't have many memories left. Could you not do this to me? Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of sad.
Yeah. Egwene is like, we are going to take an active role in the battle with the Trollocs. We need to actually fight. We can't just sit here watching people fight. Yeah, it's just so many different battles.
right.
So yeah, Matt is in Abu Dar because he's going to get his lady love. There's
tinkers there.
There are tinkers there. He finds it unnatural that they should be settling so much. There's a line to get into the city, but he's able to get waved through after confirming he has sworn the oaths. And he, again, in pure Matt form of Brandon Sanderson, prepared an elaborate backstory that he wasn't able to give.
I was going to say.
Inside, he goes into an inn and a man questions him, but he's ushered away, who asks Matt how he lost his eye and doesn't believe the lie he tells, though she claims he lies well. Duels are now regulated because he's like, hey, Abu Dar's kind of calmed down. And she's like, yeah, they brought in some law and it's probably saved lives because, sometimes colonizers are good people. Roll my eyes.
Rolls eyes.
Rolls eyes. And so he's just kind of figuring out what's going on so he can get back to on. Rand is in Land's command tent in Shinar with Moraine while the soldiers burn the lands around them. The Aes Sedai require to know why Rand is not heading for Shire Ghul, but risking himself being there. Rand refuses to go face the Dark One before the time is right because the end of the book has not happened yet. We're not at chapter 37 yet.
We're not there yet. Patience, people.
Lan arrives and tells Rand to leave Moraine, to let Moraine guide him. Right. Rand says he would not leave and gives Lan 2 crowns for him and Nynaeve, opens a gateway and goes to a battlefield. The storm begins when the dragon faces the Dark One's forces. Rand channels and starts destroying Shadowspawn. Taim tries to shield Rand because he suddenly shows up. Right. and followed by other dreadlords without success. Then a circle tries shielding him. He manages to rebuff it. The dragon realizes it's not time to fight Taim and leaves through another gateway back to Land's tent.
This is such a weird thing because it's like he's just like, I'm gonna pop over here, and he starts doing stuff, and then he's like, nope, this doesn't feel right. I'm out of here. Goodbye.
So like this book definitely has like a very specific brand of fantasy that I've noticed a lot of books have, where it's like, well, if the time isn't right, it's not going to be right. And because this is a story and the wheel turns as it does, it's only right when it's right. And it's like, I think that's just an excuse to kind of spin your wheels.
This.
Yeah, like it doesn't make sense. It's just so strange. Where is the brand who just shows up at Grendel's fortress and is like, burn it all to the ground? So yeah. We cut on over to Brigitte, who realizes she's been severed from the horn forever. She's worried that she's lost Guidal, and she's beginning to lose all her past memories. They hide in a cave with Yael and ambush a fist of 50 Trollocs. And there's death and decay all over the air. Elaine has ordered the human dead to be recovered, hopefully inspiring fear in the Trollocs when they see only their dead. Rand is in a dream shard of his own creation. He walks through a peaceful wood and through a valley. He ignores a dark cave placed before him. Inside, but he sees it a second time. He enters. Inside, he finds Mayrin struggling in a pool of water. She asks him to help her to release her. Rand sees through the deception, and she quickly releases the illusion. They talk of her captivity and her lust of power, which Rand sees as her motive for everything. He asks her to open herself completely to him and let the light in, Laura, because he is Jesus. And so he can see her true intentions, but she refuses. And he's like, see, you're not good. She attempts to plan the love that she believed Lutheran had for her, but Rand refutes this, saying that he never left her. He then lets go of any feelings he had for her. Rand opens himself to her, showing her his intentions and desires, and she sees them as a swirl of colors, as pictures, and learns of his plan to kill the Dark One. After that, Rand leaves the cave. Perrin is in the Bremwood. He checks on his people. He's kind of getting ready himself. Elaine's forces are doing well against the Shadow Spawn, but they're outnumbered. He finds a wise one who stayed with Perrin despite most of her kind going north to Shire with Rand. He asks her about dream walking in the flesh, and she's like, don't do that. It's really dangerous. And you could die. And he's like,
he could be trapped there, basically.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, but what if I do it? And she's like, I'm not going to talk to you about this. And she leaves.
She's like, don't do it. He's like, what if I do?
Yeah. A queen destroys a bunch of Trollocs and forces them to retreat. Elaine and Bashir discuss the situation of the armies of light and decide it's better if they retreat and fight the Trollocs with the city of Kyrian at their backs. Perrin declares Tam a lord and a steward of the two rivers in his stead and leaves for Marilar with Gal, where Rand agrees to open a gateway so Perrin and the Aiel can enter the dream world in the flesh and hunt Slayer.
Because that wasn't tied up.
Yeah, that's not tied up yet. Perrin and Gal enter Tala Anriad, and they're like, we're going to go searching everywhere. They do find the dream spike that prevents gateways being opened to the Black Tower. They shift to the next barrier, and Perrin penetrates it. When they reach the walls of the Black Tower, he sees a short woman with silver hair who the man recognizes as Lanfear because of her scent. She tells Perrin she wants vengeance against the person who caused her imprisonment. Then she looks at the sky, seeming alarmed, and disappears.
All throughout this, he smells so many emotions.
Always. But he does not smell when someone's going to the bathroom. Andral tries to escape because, again, they do not care about this man, and they think he is powerless to the point where he's like, hey, my ties are loose. He also was trying to get a gateway and wasn't able to do it, but like somehow he's sort of getting one. Hold on. Sorry. I'm just trying to
Basically, he just starts fighting back.
Oh, yeah. He starts fighting back at Taim. Taim kills one of the men and turns towards Andral. Andral stops trying to make a gateway and throws a weave of fire at Taim, which Taim easily dissipates. And they're like, ha, you fool. Taim throws Andral against the wall with air and pulls him across the room. They tell him he doesn't have as much control as he indicated and says she will take charge. Taim says he holds the keys in his hands, the seals. Hassalam is surprised and asks if he stole them. Endrol is not shielded and he throws another weave at Taim, who drops him. Taim tells Mishrael to kill the captives and says they will take the rest of the Black Tower men and relocate the turning project to Shile Ghul. Taim prefers to balefire Androl. Androl opens the gateway, the size of the width of a coin, catching Taim's balefire in it. The room goes silent. Canlor and the two Rivers boys burst in. Taim yells that they're being attacked.
So I'm confused by that width of a coin thing. Like, it's trapped in... He catches the balefire in this gateway?
Yeah, it's like he went to balefire him, but he opened a gateway like where the balefire went through that instead of at Androl.
Hitting him.
Yeah, so it just kind of went
and
nowhere.
Then okay,
and then a tree got zapped out of existence unless the Dark Lord brought it back.
Okay.
Laura,
I guess I was just confused by that because I'm like, what's with the width of a coin thing? Why does it have to be that small?
Because that was the only thing he was able to channel. He's like
so
good at making it. Yeah.
Do okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
just enough.
Yeah. Perrin starts searching for the dream spike along the Black Tower carefully. He is considering if the Ashamen are dark friends in the dream world or not when Lanfear appears again. She tells him the two men have been turned and says that they will never serve as well as if they came willingly. The Ashamen are drinking wine, being in Tel'aran'rhiod in flesh, and all of a sudden they collapse. Lanfear admits she dosed them with Forkroot, and she's helping Perrin because she is fond of him. Because people be throwing themselves at Perrin at all times, even though he is the most bland character in this book series now. She also tells him she's no longer one of the Forsaken because the Dark Lord found out she was about to help lose Theron, and she suddenly disappears again.
Perrin is always just that character that just like is showing up like, I'm doing a lot of things. It's like, you're just talking, you're not doing anything.
And you're just kind of here. Why are you here? Perrin approaches the two sleeping men. He finds the dream spike and he looks around for Slayer. She appears like
Lanfear.
And Lanfear is like, I'm back.
He's not here, Perrin.
And she's like, he's not here. And she keeps running away because the Dark One is searching for her. And she's found she could be destroyed. She also tells Perrin she needs him to win and her to be on his side. It even gives him instructions on how to work with the dream spike. And isn't it like if you turn it this way, it gets bigger? If you turn it this way,
yes.
It gets smaller. Oh, it's so funny.
It's that simple. And so then he's like, oh, tell me about your background and how you got involved with the Forsaken. She's like, okay.
I'll tell you. And then he's like, I don't believe you changed.
Right.
Okay, cool. They say that they're going to wait and see if the Slayer arrives, and if not, they will find him near the wolves. We cut on over to Androl, who's in the fight. Canlor tells Androl that they heard Androl begging for help, so they decided to come attack Taim's men. Apparently, the gateway Androl wove earlier had opened so narrowly that he hadn't been able to see it. He tried to weave a small gateway, and suddenly the wall blocking gateways vanishes because Perrin turned the spike.
Yeah.
And so he makes the size of a large wagon in front of some of the Dreadlords and makes it open a few feet behind them. The Dreadlords' own weaves travel through the gateway and come out behind them, killing them and the Murdral, which is the funniest thing in the world. Just like what a like cartoony way to die. Like... Yeah. We did it. He breaks Loghain's bonds with a small gateway and opens up another gateway. The way Androl's like
the way that these gateways are used.
Well, and like it's like Androl's only thing is gateways, but he can do lots with gateways. I almost made a blue joke. So like Haslam, Taim, and a couple others escape through a gateway. Androl opens another gateway as wide as the floor, and the remaining Dreadlords drop hundreds of feet away, presumably to their deaths. So many gateways. Matt is like up in the Terrasin Palace. And he's like, this is the hardest place I've ever had to break into, but you had to watch me do it off screen. And then he like comes upon Toulon and tells Tuan that Galgun was betraying her and she should leave the city. Before he can make it to her, something is shot from the shadows. Selucia reveals herself to be a bodyguard as she levels a crossbow at Matt. This doesn't matter. Like,
No.
They're making jokes about him losing a high. He's like, I want to go see Tuan. Everyone is like, her name is Fortuona. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going to tell her anything like that. And, he's like, why are you calling me Highness? It doesn't matter. Rand walks through Elaine's camp, accompanied by a pair of maidens. Everything in the camp is so quiet, and they're trying to avoid Trollocs. And he's like, oh, God, Elaine asked me to walk through this camp to make people fight for me to the death. Isn't that so annoying? And it's like, not really. It's kind of the bare minimum you could do.
You're not doing too much right now, so.
Right. You're just waiting for the right time. And then Rand goes sees his father and he's like, Tam, you'll always be my daddy. And he gives him a replacement sword for the one he was unable to return. Tam's like, it's too fine. And he's like, no, it's a thank you gift. And you're my daddy. So they discuss the flame and the void. Tam reveals that this is not about archery or swords. Rather, it's about inner peace. The two, because Tam is the most mentally healthy of all the characters in this book. Yeah. So Rand agrees to let go and find balance. Matt goes and sees Tuan and they have sex. Yeah.
You forgot the part where Rand and Tam duel.
Oh, they duel. Yeah. Oh, sorry. They do duel together.
Because that's kind of a sweet moment where he's like, I don't want to because I only have one hand.
One hand. Oh, yeah.
Tam's like, oh, I'll do it one-handed also.
That was very sweet. Tam is a sweet dad. Mm-hmm. And then Matt's just with Tuan. So, yeah, they have sex in front of her guards. Loyal always wanted to be hasty.
Always wanted to be hasty. Oh my gosh. I was laughing so hard at this.
No, he didn't.
Since when did he always want to be hasty? For books
he
and books,
humans
he said,
so much.
Humans are too hasty. But now he wants to be hasty?
I don't know. But yeah, so they're fighting in the woods with Galad.
Must be to be hasty.
But he's fighting in the woods. Galad's there too. And then the Ogier sing a wonderful war song. And Loyal's like, I don't sing that well, but I will sing now. Galad watches the Ogier fight as forces retreat through the woods. He's like, I see things in black and white. Am I right for doing that? And it's like, no, Galad, go away. I don't care about you.
Right.
So Moraine is telling Rand that she used to wonder about what was in his head. And he admits that he should have trusted her. And he's like, I'm going to end the Dark One forever, but he must go to Abu Dar to meet with the Senchan and bring them to his side. And she's like, hey, that's just a piece of paper. It's distracting you from your goals. And it's like, Moraine, Rand's trying to set up the UN. Leave him be. It's not time yet. And she
must be in place.
I know. And Moraine is like, he's such a weird mixture of self-effacement, but yet so prideful. And it's like, that's just a human. People just keep mentioning things that are just human. Yeah. And she notes that the tea tastes good because that's also a huge thing. And Lan continues to fight, and it's a hard and bloody battle. Yeah. Oh, and the Mahale. I think the Mahale shows up in that one.
I think that is.
Yeah, he's spotted in a flash of light, and Lan is thrown from his horse. He's rescued by Prince Cassale, but looks back to see the mangled body of one of his friends. Matt wakes up outside on the grass because he and Tuan had such a raucous night outside. Again, like, why? There's a bedroom. There's a bedroom. I don't need a man so overcome in this book with wanting his wife that they have sex outside in front of a bunch of guardsmen and then fall asleep outside. And
then they're just watching them. Like, okay.
You can go to your bed. And at one point she's like, if they don't watch us, Matt, I could die.
I could be dead. It could be dead if they're not watching.
And it's not even because usually when they do weird crap like this. They're usually like, it's under layers of like, it's actually customary for them to be here. They have like rules and regulations of what they need to do. No, it's just like, well, I could die if they're not here. So they're going to watch us.
There's no reasons given.
But there's no reasons given. It's not like normalized in their society where it's like, well, it's just this thing. It's just like, hey, colonizers, be weird. He's like suddenly like embarrassed about them being naked. And Tuan's like, well, being naked doesn't equal sexuality. And he's like, that's weird. And then they're like, oh my God, there's an assassin here, but the assassin is actually Rand and he's not there to assassinate. And Tuan is like, get the Damani. But Rand is like, I don't really care about this because this is just something we have to do in this novel. And Matt's like, remain calm, Rand. I know you're insane, but you got to be calm. And Rand is like, you are being stupid right now. And Matt is like, oh my God, I'm flown up in the air. And Rand's like, I'm shielded right now. I couldn't do that. And Matt realizes that Tuan has stolen his medallion so that Rand can't. Yeah. Matt and Rand quickly compare notes on what the other has been up to. What have you been doing for the last 13 books? I don't know. What have you been doing? Tuan is like,
married to this awful person.
Tuan is like, you have surrendered yourself to the sunshine.
If you slow that down, if you're listening to this book on normal speed, the way that Tuan talks is like,
I never thought about
you have surrendered yourself to the sunshine.
You know what? That's so interesting because I have only ever listened to this at like 2 times speed. So I never thought about how slow it must have been in actual normal stuff.
So I was listening at 1.5, but I was curious because her voice was so slow. So I listened to it for a little bit at 1 and I was like, oh, awful.
You have surrendered yourself to the sun.
It just sounds like a robot.
Oh my gosh. And she begins to question him that as she would have done if they had arrived at the shores only to find the armies of Arthur Hawkwing still ruling. Tuan insists that her right to rule lands on the fact that she's a descendant of Hawkwing himself. And he's like, you are wrong because I am Luz Theron reborn. So my rule supersedes your rule. And she's like, oh my God, I never thought about that. You're right. Now you're in charge. And he's like, join the UN. And she's like, okay, but I get to keep my Damani that I've gotten. And he's like, okay, but you don't get any more that who are fighting in the last battle. And it's like loophole for later. Cool.
Right.
And then Rand is like, look, I've been able to do this and I'm headed into the final battle. And Matt is like, I'm more important because I saved Moraine. And he's like, I've already seen her. We've been through this. Gawain and Egwene return from a hard day battle. Gawain contemplates the black rings he took from one of the dead Sanchen assassins and how powerless he feels. And, he thinks about if he could use them, even though he knows that it would kill him. And Lylwyn or Egyanin is like, don't use those. They're evil. And he pockets the rings. And he's like, well, I have to be a hero. And he decides not to tell Egwene about the rings. I know. I hate him so much. Rand is fighting in disguise. When he returns, he discusses his acceptance of death with Catsiane and how he was like fighting it for so long. Lan remembers the fallen along with all the people. And one of them alerts Lan that Lord Algomar is making strange decisions. And he realizes that they could be deadly. And Lan is like, I respect leadership, but I'm going to figure out what's going on. And he hears about like him sending archers away. And he's like, hey, don't do that right now. We're going to figure out what's going on. So then Elaine and Bashir look down at a river. They discuss the trap that they walked into. Scouts spot Trolloc armies coming from the north and heading to Cairhien, a city now filled with refugees. And it's like, oh no, what's going on? 3 guesses. Egwene enters Stella on Riyadh. She meets with the wise ones in the heart of the stone. She overhears them discussing Melaine, seeing through the eyes of her descendants on the third visit to Ruidian as Avienda did. Avienda. Egwene approaches the group and they ask her if she has noticed the odd, deep black cracks in the rocks. They seem to appear more frequently when the Dreadlords fight. Egwene says that they are probably caused by balefire, which Aes Sedai are forbidden to use. Amis tells Egwene that they will not be visiting the world of dreams much anymore. They say their farewells to each other. Egwene awakes and meets with Rand. He prevents her with a ribbon, which initially makes her angry, but he tells her that he wants to make amends and go into the last battle as friends. And it's like, remember when we almost got married? Remember how we almost got married? That was a weird time, right?
I love you like a sister now.
I love you like a sister. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate that this is being rewritten. That's so weird. Like, I was jealous of everyone who talked to you for 2.5 books, but now you're like a sister.
You're
just
like
so you know.
To me because now I have 3 women.
I know. And then Galwa, and then all of a sudden, in like the most like the dumbest way possible, Rand is like, oh yeah, I have a half brother. It's Galad.
And Galad is like, what? And he's like, what? Don't worry, not related
to you guys at all. Yeah.
So it's still okay to have those babes.
I know. And so Egwene shows Rand the seals at his request, and then he's like, these are fake. And she's like, but you're the one who handed them to me. And he's like, I didn't notice before. We don't know when these got swapped out, but they did. And it's like, what? This is so strange. Like, I got the biggest whiplash. And then Matt gets a dress. Yeah, basically. He gets new regalia.
It's got a lot of lace on it.
Egwene and the Aes Sedai are attacked by the Sharans. And they are fighting, Egwene and Gawain react in time, but Egwene searches for signs of Leilani and wonders if Sion or Bryn were in there, as well as the group scrambles through the camp. The pair, and this is like the pair are in hiding, and Egwene is like, I don't know what's going on. And she allows herself to be held by Gawain because it's like, you can't channel, and the Sharan are gonna attack us, and we have to stay safe and we have to stay low to the ground. There's a lot happening in this book.
Oh yeah.
And then Rand also announces that he will ride into Shal Ghul the next day because the time is finally right. And the Aiel are going to be able to be led by a wetlander, and they hate it.
Yeah, they're not too happy about that. Yeah. But the dagger thing worked.
So. The dagger has worked, and the Dark One could not see him. They also discussed the fake seals with Avienda, and he's expecting the Forsaken to arrive once he begins the fight against the Dark One. The two walk up to the tent where Min is with Nynaeve and Moiraine. Callandor rests on Moraine's lap. Rand asks if Min would go away and keep an eye on Egwene and the Senchen, who he has sent to fight together. Sion tries to help with healing after the attack and is sent away by Yukiri due to Sion's exhaustion. And they're all searching for the Amerlin. Gareth, Bryn, and Sion discuss the losses. One of the two men after the last attack. Bryn is upset that he made a mistake and is not attacking the Trollocs sooner and being too careful. Guess what's happening? Every time we cut to like a new general, I was like, okay, can we get to where we figure out what's going on? Because it's obvious. So Lorelli is over at the Black Tower. They enter the Black Tower to bomb the Ashmen. They were promised. Again, it's so dumb where they're like, we're going to go get this done now. And Pavara joins the group at Logain's request. Pavara explains that bonding Ashmen does not compel them, as is possible with ordinary men. And she's like, well, we're going to bomb them anyway. And Androl is like, okay, you can bond anyone here. And it's like, you sent away all the useful men, didn't you? And he's like, yep. Whoops. And he's like, we follow Logain because Logain gave us hope and the dragon ain't shit. That's pretty much what happens.
Kind of, yeah.
Egwene is hiding from the Sharans in the camp. She sees Liani being captured and brought to Bow the Wild, who proclaims himself as their savior and is in charge of the Sharans. The Sharans popping up in this last book is so confusing. I don't understand why they're here all of a sudden.
There's a lot of things that pop up and I'm like, do we need this?
I know. And then Bow the Wild orders Liani to tell Luthor that he came to slay him. And Egwene realizes that it's Demandred, whose only personality is like, lose Theron, I'm coming for you.
Rand must die.
Well, come to me.
Leave him for me.
Oh God, we cut on over to Perrin in the dream world. Moonhunter, who is Lanfear, and Heartseeker, unknown to Perrin, except that she must be a Forsaken, walk the dreams. He stalks Heartseeker and is eventually attacked by her until he vanishes. He then imagines her mouth stuffed with Forkrew. Because again, Perrin is better at dreams than anyone else.
He can do this better than anyone. He's the novice, but
he imagines ropes, but she incinerates them and steps through a gateway into a massive Trollocs and fades. Lanfear states that Perrin should have killed her. Perrin suggests that the woman must be Grendel, and Lanfear advises Perrin that they are to use her new name, Hessalam, which means without forgiveness. She advises Perrin that he should learn how to shift between the dream world and the real world because he's good at some stuff, but not everything. She then tells him that Grendel was invading the dreams of Bashir, his wife's father. Dun, dun, dun. Gawain goes out scouting, leaving his warder's cloak on Egwene, and he slips on one of the blood knives because Gawain is an idiot.
Why don't you listen to anyone, Gawain?
Why is he doing something that he's like, Elaine or Egwene? Is who I live for. I only want Egwene. And then it's like, hey, this thing that could kill me and make her affected through our warder bond, I'm just going to put it on without a second thought. I'm not going to think about the repercussions of this decision at all or how it could affect our bond.
He never listens to anyone. And that's what's the most annoying thing about him is that he's one of those people that you could be like, okay, did you hear exactly what I said? And you're like, yep. And just does exactly the opposite.
Yeah. It's really stupid. So yeah, okay. Egwene begins moving behind Gawain when he is like, come with me, but pauses at the sound of a dropped stone. She crouches to wait for another chance to move. She senses a channeler mere moments before a shield is slammed between Egwene and the source. She lets her terror build to allure Gawain through their bond. Lewin smashes the channeler on the head to rescue Egwene, and Gawain and Bale rejoin the women. Aviendha attacks a shadow forger and releases captives. Her job was to guard Rand's back as he entered the pit of doom. He warned her to look for dark friends. She battles channelers who use balefire.
Rand's story kind of jumps around so much. It's a little bit confusing because I'm like, when did he get reconnected with her?
I mean, they do be fucking before the final
battle.
Yeah, so she's just been hanging around him since then. I don't know.
He's jumping around so much. Though.
Laura, it was time.
I guess.
It was time for them to be reunited. So it happened.
I don't understand time in this wheel, but
I'm shocked. How dare you? Aviendha is fighting. There is darkness in the rocks. Two of the people are found to be dreadlords, and Aviendha escapes an encounter with the third woman, likely Grendel. Aviendha sets up 3 circles, one to attack the Trollocs, while the other 2 wait to goad the enemy to attack what seems like a singular circle. She then sets up traveling grounds and keeps strict control over who channels and where in order to pinpoint an attack. Rand is entering the mountain of Shale Ghul. He orders no channeling until the strike on the Dark One, if possible. Tom volunteers to guard the entry into the cave. How is Tom useful in this battle? I don't know, but apparently very more than Nynaeve and Moiraine, except for their bodies. That's all. Nynaeve suggests that Rand should rest, eyeing the old wound in his side. His blood ran inside his boot, and he left a bloody footprint behind, blood on the rocks, like the prophecies.
The blood of you're stained with the rock of shade.
He unsheathes Kalendor and asks Moiraine and Nynaeve to form a circle. Moiraine asks if one of them should lead so he could use that safely. Rand states that he doesn't intend to be safe. So long as he led the circle, another could strike and seize control of him, questioning himself about whether or not he had planned well enough and wasn't at the right time. A voice, it says in this, a voice in all capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
The voice goes, "It is time. Let the task be undertaken." So Laura, it is time.
It's finally time.
Rand's not surprised, as he heard this voice once before now. He had been hoping for it. Presumably it's the voice was the creator. Fortuna's watching Matt. She's
She
like,
renames him.
I know. And no tie. He is also named as Rod Holder, which means that if Gulgan fell, then No Tie would assume control over the armies. And everyone calls him No Tie now, and it's really annoying. Yeah. They learn of the assault on the Amerlin's camp, and No Tie wants the armies to move immediately. As Fortuna is the penultimate leader of the forces, No Tie convinces her to give the order to move Matt. Lan receives orders from Agomar in that his forces would hit the Trollocs face on. The plan seemed sensible. And Agomar, because Lana's like, no, it wasn't. And he's like, it seemed sensible at the time. And then he's like, I've been having troubling dreams. Elaine has her troops positioned to face the Trolloc army. As she begins to address her troops, the sun was occluded with something dark in front of it. She rallies the troops with her battlefield speech that she made up on the fly. And Brigitte's like, you changed the one you memorized last night. And she's like, sometimes it's what moves you.
She's like, I deserve to be here because I'm a channeler.
Oh my God.
And they're like, it might empower the people to see you there. Like, oh gosh, no.
And the wind fighters are working with the toilet tank reel.
The fact that that's back.
The bowl of the wind. We cut on over to Suyan, who's happy that Egwene is there, who rejoins Bryn. They are at the southeastern tip of Candor because Bryn chose it as the train gave them a small advantage. Suyan tests Egwene to be sure that she is who she says she is, but she does it with like a question that someone else knew.
Right.
She's like, when did we first meet? She's like, the only other person I told was a dark friend. And it's like, but it's a bad question.
So pick something else. Like,
oh my God. What's our nickname for the bowl of the winds? Egwene orders that they hold at the river unless the losses become absolutely unbearable. Reckon scouts pass overhead. Rand had sent a message via Min that the Sunchen fight the shadow. Min was currently working for the supply masters as a clerk. Egwene orders that the battle lines be ready and to keep an eye on the Sunchen. Again, it's just like Min is trying to do the only thing she can that's useful. So she is
I'm getting really
secretary.
good at bookkeeping and secretarial work. So that's what I will do.
As he enters the cavern, the Dark One scents Rand. So the dagger had worked to shield him from the shadow. The cavern seems to lower, but it's like, oh my God, he's here. I guess those two women were just coming in alone.
I know.
It doesn't. What? Yeah. They walk with Nynaeve at his left and Maureen at his right. Rand announces that he won't come to Shaitan on his knees, and the rocks retreat. He senses through his bond that one of the women was in trouble. Maureen cautions Rand to not touch the darkness. As Moradin speaks, Rand raises Calendar and it glows, revealing a husk in the shape of a man with no eyes. Rand waves Moraine and Nynaeve back as Moradin raises his sword. Moradin denies his chance to return to the light, instead holding the promise of oblivion. Then he attacks. Lan is ordered for his troops to fall back. Nothing and he's like, I need to go check on the error. Perrin notes that Rand has entered the pit of doom because Perrin knows all. He's seen Grendel earlier and tracked her here, but she traveled.
Like Slayer is in the pit of doom also.
Oh, yes, you're right. Slayer is in the pit of doom. He's told, yes. And he sees Slayer drawing his bow. As there are two men locked in battle with two women as if frozen. Perrin slaps the arrow with his hammer and Slayer shifts. Perrin and Gal follow him into a group of the red-veiled Aiel. They battle and the wolves join the fight. Slayer and Perrin continue fighting with Slayer sometimes shifting into the real world. Perrin engages two of the red-veiled channelers and takes them captive. Lanfear tells him to kill them. Perrin asks if killing them in Tela Anriad would kill them forever, and Lanfear says that it doesn't work that way for men, because again, Rills never apply to men.
That way.
Lanfear states that the teeth were filed on these two men, and that meant that they had been turned. Gaul slits their throats in mercy. Perrin gets Lanfear to heal Gaul. Perrin knows that the veil between the two worlds was thin here, and he sends a message to Nynaeve that if she wants to make a gateway, then she'll have to create it in front of the cavern. Nynaeve, it's me, parent. Listen, I'm in the dream world.
I know you're busy.
I know you're really busy, but you let people know that I put the dream spike right here.
It's in a bubble.
And I turned it for you. Slayer would have to enter through the front since they can no longer get in there. Perrin sets the wolves to protect the entrance, and he's curious as to what Grendel is doing. Thus, ending chapter 25 of the last book of the Wheel of Time. So with that, we have covered the first half of the Wheel of Time. Now, next week, Laura and I have decided that A Memory of Light is so big that we're going to only cover chapters 27 through 30, through the like halfway through the final battle.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of see from there how we're feeling and how long we've been talking. We've talked for quite a bit setting up to the final battle.
Right.
So there's just so much going on that we want to enjoy this discussion, and we don't want you guys to have a 5-hour long episode. So
and honestly, like, not a lot happens with some of the characters, so we think we can put
cover
the character episode in one.
Yes. So we're going to be doing 2 more episodes on the plot. Next week, we'll be covering chapters 27 through partway through 37, and then the final 37 through the epilogue. And then we will do an entire episode on all the characters, kind of winding up the details on them and how we feel about them. And of course, after that, we will be doing our final episode on the Wheel of Time book series. We may come back for TV Tuesdays, of course, but we are going to be actually like finishing up our discussion on the Wheel of Time the first week of June. So that's just a little bit of housekeeping for us. And Laura, how are you feeling about the book so far?
I mean, the first half of it, I was like, a lot of corny things are happening.
Right.
So, but it's kind of this is the last book thing. So we need to have people reflecting on things. I don't know as much about like how certain things were necessary to do, but whatever. I mean,
there were choices made. I agree. I think there were a lot of choices made. I do think some of the weaker parts are everyone preparing for the final battles and having like random battles in between getting up to the final battle. I just wonder how necessary that was.
I kind of think that we could have had more of like some of our main characters that we were introduced to in the beginning, like Nynaeve and Moraine, in the beginning part of this book, and less of some of this build up with random characters that we haven't known as long. But
and like less of like, let's create a UN. So at the end of this, we know that everyone will have the borders they have. Like, I don't care as much about the politics of this book. That was never a very big part of the Wheel of Time.
Right.
So watching it all gather up and then watching like a bunch of people figure out that people's minds might be affected, like, it doesn't really work for me. I just feel like, I feel like it just feels a little rushed and yet too long all at the same time.
It's like pieces are rushed and the pieces that I wanted to be longer.
Yeah, I would agree. It's rough, guys, you know. Talking about it doesn't help because all of these chapters were so long.
Right.
But we do enjoy talking with you guys. So make sure to reach out and correct us on anything we're missing or something we should be focusing on, because we're about to cover this plot in 2 more episodes. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Rating, reviewing, and subscribing is a great way to bring other people into the finale of this conversation and kind of see our entire back catalog, because there's so much of it. And make sure you guys are preparing for our indie intermission by purchasing your copy of I Hunt by Olivia Hill. We will be covering that in June, so it's time to get that book now. Yes. And we will definitely talk to you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.